I thought people knew the role and the value of science as the taproots of the engines of tomorrow's economy. It has me question the future competitiveness of the United States on the world stage. You need corroboration. That's how science works. That's what science is. It is never the efforts of the lone researcher.
Okay, we're a few days behind on covering this, but I'm jumping at any chance to cover Neil deGrasse Tyson on the show. So I've got a few clips of him on MSNBC to discuss Trump's cuts to science research and RFK Jr.'s attacks on medicine. If you can, take a moment, leave us a like on the video. It helps us out a ton. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, and let's just hop right in.
I thought people knew, apparently not, but I thought people knew the role and the value of science as the taproots of the engines of tomorrow's economy. To cut science funding here and there and willy-nilly and pass judgment on some scientific paper because you think it will never be relevant, because to you in that moment it seems silly, it's so short-sighted that it has me question the future competitiveness of the United States on the world stage. And it saddens me to observe that, not only as a scientist, but as a citizen of the country. Science was set as a priority after the Second World War, after we won the war on science.
A quote that has always stuck out to me is, "If you'll believe absurdities, you'll commit atrocities." That quote single-handedly made me rethink my entire religious upbringing when I was like 15 or 16 and brought me to the strong scientific grounding that I have today for all of my beliefs, right? I don't believe things if evidence doesn't warrant it. And I think it's why the MAGA elk are especially dangerous, because they're so easily led to falsities, right? Things that are so easily falsified, right? Because they're so ready to jump at conspiracies. And that's what makes them more willing to stomach things like due process being avoided, racism being rolled out in the streets, migrants being locked in internment camps and dying at historic rates, because they can just be fed a conspiracy with no evidence to support it as the reason these things are happening. And that makes it okay to them. And to me, it speaks to the importance of science, right? Because science is really a tool of coming to the understanding of provisional truths using observations and evidence, not faith and vibes, right? But who knows what comes next as institutions have funding pulled, research is getting canceled. I just hope we survive it.
When you see RFK Jr. go up and say, he has an idea, he has a musing, he has a hunch, as best we can, putting politics aside, what is he getting wrong about the scientific method by leading with only what might be his musing?
So in a couple of cases, he'll find a research paper. But by the way, what's taught in school in science is here's a satchel of information, learn it, regurgitate it for the exam, and then move on. At no time is science taught as a methods and tools of inquiry to discover what is objectively true. And on the frontier of science, things can move back and forth and it can get bloody, not literally bloody, it can get messy. And only when there's multiple tests and multiple observations, when they have agreement, then you've got an emergent truth. You can't do what I've seen others do, including Kennedy, pick a research paper and say, there's one that must be true because it aligns with your philosophies, be it cultural, religious, philosophical. Just because it aligns doesn't mean it's true.
I agree. Like, obviously there is information in science you want to foray to people at a basic level. Gravity is real, right? Evolution happens. But the early education does fail at showing people how science, more so than a bundle of information, is a method of coming to truths. Right? It's not this high society of information. It is a means in which you can use to come to provisional truths about anything, right? Like science philosophy is also very useful, where hypotheses are formed from observations, tested through experimentation, and then grounded in statistical data and empirical evidence, leading you to a provisional truth, which then needs replicated to be validated. That's why consensus is so important. Like, when you look at a paper, first, you want to see if it's peer-reviewed, then you want to see if it's been replicated, then you want to see the methodology, right? Like the sample size, the confidence interval, these kinds of things. However, MAGA wants you to believe like the only thing you should check is funding, when the funding literally just doesn't matter. What they're actually just looking for is confirmation bias. If I can find any paper that says the thing I say, then it's true to some extent, but that's just not how it works. And this is how you have MAGA believing RFK Jr. finding one study that says Tylenol causes autism, meaning that, oh, he's exposing the truth and it was a cover-up. not just lying, which is ever more present when you realize that's just not even what the study says. It's not peer reviewed. The sample size was shit. It was just observational. Like, there's nothing about the study. It's never been replicated. Nothing about the study should be clung on to.
You need corroboration. That's how science works. That's what science is. It is never the efforts of the lone researcher who's on their own and they make a discovery and say, everyone else has got it wrong, but I have it right. That is the surest sign of a cult.
He is so spot on. Like, when you follow one man and one man opinions alone rather than consensus and over consensus even, you're in a cult. That's what that is, right? And it's, again, personally why I believe religion is so dangerous, because not only does religion lead you to believe untrue things, in my opinion, it normalizes following one man over all other consensus, right? Because you're supposed to follow Jesus without question, regardless of science, regardless of what any institution says. The Bible says the earth is older than the sun. Don't question it. The Bible says Jesus walked on earth. Don't question it. The Bible said people were created. So like abiogenesis didn't happen. Evolution never happened. Don't question it. And again, that's why I believe you see so many evangelicals who so easily became diehard Trump supporters. They're conditioned to think this way. They're conditioned to think that consensus can't be trusted. So if everybody is saying something about one person, it can't be true, and that they should then follow the one person blindly over consensus. That is why I think that pathway was so easy. It's pervasive and it's evil. And I think something needs to be done about it at the very early education level so people can be reminded about the importance of science in our life. The amount of people in my day, and I won't name my friends, but I will call them out. I was hanging out with them the other weekend, and I was in a room and we started talking about like this, how life began and, all random things. And I realized I was in a room full of people who did not believe that we were apes and that evolution happened. Take that as you will.